Now, the next thing that we're going to get into is the unenviable task of figuring out what's next. So the Premier League met on Friday, and they went into a meeting to discuss what are the steps after isolation, quarantine ends for teams and for players. What is the league restart going to look like? Project Restart is what they're calling it. Where do we go from here? Now, assuming there is no vaccine, we have a state of still social distancing and things are different. But how do we go about finishing a Premier League season with 10 games left and then moving forward and getting into the next season? I mean, this is where things really get tough. How do you move on? Dave, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the important thing, I think what really needs to be remembered here is that, like, if the competition doesn't have integrity, like, because if you can play 29 games and then that's just thrown away, well, then it doesn't matter, right? Like, why even play the next one? Because the next one's probably going to be even shorter. What we have to keep in mind is that for the next year or two, these seasons may be abbreviated. That's just the way it's going to be. So we have to finish this one, get everybody into the correct places, and then you can start to customize what next season looks like. I think that the leagues that have cut theirs short have either made a mistake. Well, the ones that haven't awarded a proper champion have made a mistake. You have to basically decide, all right, if we're going to cancel the rest of the season, then we are going to say that these people are the winners and that these are our top four. These are who's getting relegated. These are who's coming up, because that is integral to the structure of how football leagues are designed, how competitions are designed. Now, I am open to what next season might look like, of course, but we're not even going to accommodate 38 games. We know that ahead of time.
Whoa. We don't know that. But
we almost do know that, because somewhere in the fall and winter, we are probably going to get another stay-at-home order.
But let's, for sake of simplicity, let's take that variable out, because there are already too many variables in the discussion that make.
That's the thing. You can't take that variable out. That is a part of the discussion. It's kind of central.
No, because it's already so complicated that
Mm-hmm.
we need to first think of a simple version of this before we can get to the complex, right? It's like
Sure.
Think of it as like this way. We need to first.
But there is no simple version, because
we need to first talk about like a proof of concept first, and then talk about then we can start entering
how you'd actually execute,
including complexity. It's like what I do at my job. It's like first simple.
Well, I think personally, I think what the Premier League should do is say, okay, we're going to finish this season when we can. It doesn't matter when it finishes. Just finish this season. Everyone will fall into place at that point. At that point, each division goes into basically a clausura apertura type setup where we're going.
You're using too many big words, my man.
You know what I mean, though. I know your ass knows what I mean. No, like a Mexico setup where there are two seasons, and the two winners of the two seasons will play each other in sort of a Super Bowl, right? Like, you go into that sort of, because here's the thing, we have an excuse, a sort of, like, the television broadcasters are open to just about anything at this point to ensure that their money is well spent.
They just want content.
They want content, and they want as long as they know that what they're getting will get viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're going to tell me that the Premier League for the first time ever would go into a 2-season concept in which there's a break in the middle during the coldest portion of the year, during a portion of the year where, quite frankly, we're probably going to be most affected by this, if you listen to science. So we're going to go into this 2-portion year, and those two will play each other in a final. We're going to still carry on the FA Cup. We're probably going to have to do away with the League Cup because we won't have enough room for those fixtures. So, like, I think that's the way to go, personally. I think that because I think next season you can do anything you want.
Right.
You could do you could do a 24-team league like they're talking about. My thing with that is fine. If you're going to say to Leeds and West Brom, you're up, and you're just going to give the third.
We're not
place
going to send anyone down. Like
we're not
going
to send
bring
anybody
2 up.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to, or say it's a
Or
22-team league, and so you play 42 games.
Right.
Fine, but then you have to be open to the idea that you don't know when that's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you have to leave open the possibility that we all go under stay-at-home orders again, that no players can even – like we can't even congregate the damn players again. You know, Bundesliga is talking about resuming, but then 3 players on Köln or whatever it is just tested positive. This could become a thing at any time, and it could interrupt what we want to do from a football standpoint at any time. And we have to respect the human beings that are involved, the fact that they want to see their families.
Right.
You know, like the fact that they are individuals within our society as well. So we can't just like isolate them in camps and not let them touch anyone.
Isolate them.
Because but seriously, that's kind of the argument right now is that you have to, if you're going to do something where the games are going to go on, you would have to cut them off from the rest of society. You'd have to have them in football prison camps, essentially, like highly paid, comfortable football prison camps. But that's what I'm saying, where they're off away from everyone, where they're isolated. They can't go and talk to anyone.
No, stop.
That's the kind of stuff we're talking
Andrew's
about.
face is
Stop.
I know, and I totally get why I said that, because it is an absolute ridiculous thing for me to say.
Okay. Let's like put this in perspective.
Yes.
If motherfuckers that work at Walmart don't need to go in no damn camps, then football players don't need to go in camps either. There are a lot less people.
We
now,
can
hold on a second.
That.
We can argue that folks at Walmart are in a lot of danger.
Yeah, that's my point. That's exactly my point. You're absolutely right about that. That's kind of the craziness of it all. So look, we need to finish this season absolutely, and from what I don't know if you mentioned this, Darius, so I'm going to mention it. Correct me if you did. So on that meeting on Friday, they didn't take any decisions, according to the BBC.
No.
They're talking about neutral grounds and using possibly 10 venues. I don't know how that would look like, because as you were just saying about the camps, but then they were talking about not, putting quarantine players and so on. So it'd be interesting to see, because I was watching an interview with Raphael Hognestein,
the
one on the Red Man TV. Yeah,
I've never said his name out loud. I've only read it. It's weird.
It's
weird. It's weird when you actually say a person's name. I speak a little German. Doesn't matter. That guy, he said basically the Bundesliga is talking about how they won't even play. The football won't go back to normal until next year, 2021. Because
that's probably what we're facing.
Yeah, so they're going to be playing behind closed doors. But he was saying in Germany it's a bit different, because public health is determined by local government. So Bayern Munich has to wait for basically the states have to decide. And however, here's my thought about this whole process. Mm-hmm. Whatever the other European countries do, Britain is kind of like America in a lot of ways. Britain's going to do their own fucking thing. They're not going to, because in a real world, like if Germany does this first, the real thing should be like Britain should look at Germany and say, okay, what are the things you
follow
did
that model?
Yeah, what are the things you did wrong? Let's try to do better than what you did. Instead, what Britain most likely is going to do is they're going to do whatever they think is best, and it's going to be completely like illogical and crazy. #Brexit. So, so I almost have no faith. But that being said, though, what you were talking about, what you were saying earlier, David, is like, let's assume for just a second that we don't that virus doesn't come back with full swing. Just for a second, I still think it would be prudent, for example, to get kind of scrap the League Cup because the fixtures, and then also, for example, the FA Cup. If you can't scrap the FA Cup because of the magic of the FA Cup, at least scrap replays. Maybe scrap, so for example, instead of Premier League teams playing in the 5th round, we start from the next round or some nonsense like this, so that we play a little bit less fixtures. There's got to be a way to do that. But the only other problem I have, when I was looking at the BBC article, though, going back to neutral venues, that doesn't really make sense to me because, so for example, let's assume the league starts tomorrow. Liverpool wins the league in 2 games.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if that game's in Wembley or the damn moon. There's Liverpool fans going to congregate outside the stadium, if not congregate outside of Anfield. And in fact, the Liverpool mayor was saying the same
He
thing.
said
Like,
this early in the week. Yeah.
yeah, he was saying like this is ludicrous. Like I can't control these people. Essentially, these scousers are gonna go nuts. Which, to be fair, is completely true because you know me, I got a flat tire right now, but I'm gonna get that fixed. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
drive around
we
like
don't.
a person.
I think that
You know?
this whole thing has put like a lot of stuff into perspective for a lot of people. I don't know as it'll be as crazy as people think. I think there'd be like, you know, there might be people like launching nuclear weapons from their lawn, but
Yeah,
but they won't
no.
be like within 6 feet of another person.
Yeah, no, that's true. There are ways to do it. You know, like the city could, for example, organize a big venue and put the right things in place so that everyone can be 2 meters apart and so on. So, I mean, things can
I
be
mean, you
done, but
could
that
just
costs
set up
money
a
and
truck.
never. Yeah, but no one
Like,
has money. That's the issue, right? So
that's the problem. Yeah, no, I agree. And like, you know, obviously, like it's going to look different than when you'd win anything else. But the point is that I think for the sake of the competition, like you have to finish because like for Leeds and West Brom, for example, they need the opportunity to complete their journey to go up into the Premier League. They've been waiting on that. There will be financial
yeah, the
implications
money
of
the
that,
money
you know.
involved is just insane. $100 million or more.
It makes or break a club,
Yeah,
whether
but
you
no,
go
Your
up or you
your whole
don't.
future can depend
That
on
is
it.
your
West
future.
Brom,
Yes.
but the more interesting thing is that sorry, but we know we're human, so no matter what they decide, not everyone's going to be happy. So what's going to be very interesting is going to be there's going to be litigation regardless of what gets decided. Even if it's the best case scenario of what gets decided, there's going to be litigation. So for example, you know, blah blah blah, some other teams say, "Hey, what about me?" and this and that and blah, you know. So there might be some legal issues that
Mhm.
clubs may face, whether that's from a good perspective trying to get funds back from the government or from the Premier League, or you know, clubs suing other clubs or you know, suing the FA and
It's not
so on.
fair that
So
we got sent down because we had 3 months in between games and we were on a streak. We would have made it up to 15th or 14th, and
yeah,
then we got
all these
interrupted.
are
All of
average.
those arguments are going to come out, of
yeah,
course.
but you know what though is if you got to play the games and you didn't do it, then it's
I feel like
whatever.
that's the smallest of the arguments, though.
But
You're
Right?
right.
Yeah,
that's,
because at
unfortunately,
the end
that's
of
not
the
how the
day,
law works, though, right? But yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
because you know, but at the end of the day, like it's you can make the argument. Well, you still got to play the games,
Right.
and there was nothing we could do about the outbreak, but you still got to play the games, and
and then
you didn't do it. I'm sorry, that's how it goes. Whereas if you cut it off now, yeah, you do go, okay, well,
you leave that.
we weren't even given the
We wouldn't
opportunity
know.
of a magical
We
run.
had a whole third
No
of
one
the
will ever
season
know
left.
what we
Like,
could have done.
right.
But what's interesting as well is like how this all fits in with UEFA, the
Mm-hmm.
Champions League. Because when didn't they say if you correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they say like basically, yo, you guys got to finish this by this date? But then they've changed that
Yeah. What
because
was it?
then
It was
so for
mid
example,
June or July.
yeah. So like for
Yeah,
example, how
but
do qualifiers work? Are they gonna have less teams? I think it
the
could,
real reason
as
that
you
they're
said, it
saying
could be they could get rid of or it's a room to experiment. So for example, to either get rid of teams, like get rid of the minnows, so to speak, or add minnows to the competition. To
Hmm.
there,
I,
you can go either way.
so I think that's one of the reasons why you've got to get rid of the smaller domestic cups, the ones that go on in the first half of the year, because you've got to clear more time for Europe, right? But I think the real reason that they're saying that UEFA is saying that, is that they want everyone to be done because they're not going to hold off on Euro 2021 the way that they had to hold off on Euro 2020. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah, it's
They're
too
not
much
going
money.
to, because
Yeah.
they can't push it into the summer of 2022, 6 months after a World Cup. So they're like basically saying like, no, we're going to play next summer. You all need to have your next league season wrapped up. Whatever that looks like, you need to have that wrapped up. And I get that, but then also there's nothing that says that the leagues can't, like I said, just go, okay, well, we're going to do an experimental season in this format. We'll still be done by that time, but we're going to play a shitload of football by then, and you're going to need to adjust the UEFA Like, we're not going to be doing fucking international friendlies anymore. That's done. There's no room for that shit.
Yeah, that's got to be scrapped. And then let's talk about, for example, how the transfer is going to look like. You have, for example, you have players that their contracts end June 30th. So presumably, if they're still playing June 30th and finish by July, the guy, for Tongan playing for Tottenham, theoretically he's kind
Well,
of in limbo.
I feel like
here's
that
the
one
thing.
is a little easier to figure out because you can just simply
Sure.
say it's an extension on the contract because the contract technically is supposed to go to the end of the season. So if the
Yeah.
end of the season changes, then that June 30 date, which was kind of an arbitrary date to begin with, because that's like the resetting of the European calendar, that's now, okay, we can allow that to be July 30 or September 30, whenever it falls in line. But the problem is, if all the leagues are on different schedules, that's when it really becomes,
Man,
we
because of the
don't
legal.
all have the same.
But
This guy could be free to go somewhere else, but he's still under contract here. So now what?
Here's the interesting thing about that. One, we've already seen that the transfer window is completely just an idea. It's made up, right? Because the last couple
like
of years,
money.
England,
It keeps changing though.
England has been just closing earlier than everybody else, and it's been weird. And as far as like the contracts go, it's really actually in the players' best interest to see out the contracts they have because so many of them are built on incentives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you can't then say, well, Virgil's owed his incentives for clean sheets. Yeah, but he didn't. He only played 30 games, and then he transferred to Real Madrid. I'm not saying that, like, Virgil's going to Real Madrid, but you get what I'm saying. Like, let's say that he did, hypothetically. His agent's in a pickle because the club could go, yeah, but he didn't play the X amount of games that we need him to play, so we don't owe him this money. So it's like it's in everybody's interest to just see things out, have a completed season, and then start from there. And I think because the transfer window is just an idea, right? Like it's just something that we've arbitrarily said, well, it opens this day and it closes this day.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that we can change that because we've been changing it for the last couple of years. And MLS fucking makes their own shit up every year. It's just like whatever. They do whatever the hell they want, right? So, like, no, let's look at it and go, okay, here's the deal. All seasons will be done by this date. If you haven't finished the games, then you just cancel it, whatever. You award the winner, the title to whoever was in first at that time. However many games you could get in, that's what you do. At that point, everyone has 10 days. 10 days. That's it. And they go nuts. Like
Ramble. You want to go for the chaos. Oh, I like it.
Yeah, no. It's a mad dash. Everyone has 10
Oh my God.
days
Talking about a speculative market. Jesus. That would be
imagine
nuts.
though. Imagine imagine Jim White on Sky Sports News. Fucking Arlo White on NBC Sports are just like they would explode. Like,
my God,
the NBC Sports crew would have to have a daily rundown of all the transfers. There'd be new graphics boards. It would be amazing.
Yeah,
just
no,
10
it would be
days of transfer madness.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's not happening. That'll never happen. But
let's do it. That's what I want.
Oh, no, it'd be great entertainment though. Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
One thing I want to throw out there.
Chaos. The content would be nonstop. We'd have so many talking points.
And we have something to watch, for God's sakes,
Right?
Tiger King is over, so there's nothing left.
It would give NBC Sports a show to produce.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So one thing I kind of want to throw out along the transfer route is, would we see the dollar amount going to players or going in transfers? Is that going to stay the same? Is that going to drastically drop off? Because the global economy is down for everyone. Is Mbappe worth $100 million? Is he worth $100 million? Or is he worth 20? Like, what is the going rate for a player right now? Like, a player who would have gotten 200 for a transfer, a player who would have gotten 100, who would have gotten 50.
That's a fair question.
No, that is. I mean, I love math, so I love this question. So, for me personally, I think the Occams Razor is that it has to drop. It has to drop.
Right.
Whether that's 10% or whether that's 20%, like the stock market has dropped recently, I don't have the answer to that, unfortunately. But it will be interesting to see. So, for example, for example, I was watching earlier that Barcelona wants to get rid of Coutinho, right? And there's gossip that maybe he'll go to Chelsea, for 75 million pounds or something like that. Will that drop into down 50? Because of I'm sure Abramovich is fine. He's got money. He's some oligarch. He's doing all right, but maybe he doesn't want to pay that. Because everyone, as you said, everyone is hurting. The global economy is hurting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really gonna suck for the smaller clubs, in the Division Twos or the fringes of the Europe, like your mid-table clubs in the first divisions. For example, their Colognes of the world. Where they're gonna buy from? What money do they have? Because let's assume, the Bundesliga or the Premier League finishes in the next 10 games. They're not going to have that match day revenue. And much like Disney doesn't make all their money from parks, but it is a significant chunk of their revenue is the parks. Obviously they make money from ABC and everything else, their movies and so on. But just like with clubs, their TV deal is a big money maker. But the match day helps.
The other stuff matters. It matters.
Yeah, the other stuff matters too. So now then they have to reconcile and they have to budget accordingly. So, some clubs are just struggling to keep it afloat, much less buy the next Mbappe. I don't. The short answer is I don't effing know. If I did, I wouldn't be here right now. I would be paid to be on.
You'd be making more money
even
to
more.
figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
I'm going to complicate this even more and
Go ahead.
say that, okay, so oil and houses are down, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would think that
Two
everything's
very
down.
specific things. Yes.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, I've seen the
Yeah.
prices of homes drop. Oil, we were just talking about how cheap gas is right now. Like, these are things that you would normally kind of base your impression of, like, dollar values on.
Not only
right?
that, but it's harder,
how many
it's
of
harder
these
to get
rich?
credit.
Yeah,
It's harder to get
but
credit now as well.
specifically for those two markets, how many of these rich billionaire owners are either involved in something along the lines of oil money or real estate? Those are two of the hardest hit markets right now. Like,
this is fair.
Woo.
This is this is fair, right? But the one argument I will make is that everything is it's supply and demand, right? So like
True.
people don't have money to buy houses right now, and people aren't going anywhere, so they don't need gasoline. So the demand for those things is down. But is the demand to see Lionel Messi or Philip Coutinho or whoever play down? Or is
Probably
it
not.
in theory up because people even in the countries that those players are playing in can't go to the game. They have to watch them on television. They have to pay some type of subscription price.
So your TV value is higher because
it's
there is no
actually
ticket.
higher.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and if you want to get your team onto the primo packages or whatever it is, or be the highlighted thing so that you get a nicer slice of the pie, then maybe buying a Philippe Coutinho is actually more worth it.
All right.
So that you can get,
So Dave, would
Well,
that
that depends on the league, though.
I was going to
Because-
say, would that
does.
work better in a baseball model where you can go and you can negotiate your own TV contract, a basketball model where you can go and negotiate your own TV contract. In addition to the national, you also have your own regional TV contract. Would that be better than with the Premier League where it's isn't it pretty evenly split, or it's more incentive? It's not.
No, it's based on where you finish.
You're right. So it's incentive based. It's not based off of, wait, you're the big club and you got the big name, so you get a bigger chunk. It's based off of results. So it's not something that you can necessarily negotiate because of your name. So if you bring in a player, theoretically, it bumps up the league. And if you finish higher, you should have a bigger cut, but it doesn't guarantee that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing your own negotiation, you can say, we've got this player, give us more money for our TV contract.
Which is
You know what I mean?
why, in reality, what's going to happen is to Andrew's point, the Colognes of the world who can't maybe afford to go out and buy that superstar player and aren't going to get on themselves in those primo packages, they're going to struggle, right? And like the finances are going to get harder and harder. And for the clubs down the divisions, it just gets uglier and uglier. And that's why, like, I've heard a few people now saying this might be the event that bursts out a European Super League.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's possible.
Oh no, don't
Well,
say
because
I
that.
don't want it
but
either. No
Andrew,
one wants it, but there may
Oh.
only
but
be a
think
few
about
left
it.
standing.
If you can have a model where the super clubs can go do their own negotiating with TV contracts and they can
Oh
go and
yeah.
do their own separate league where they don't have to go through the Premier League and say, wait, I'm getting the same amount as Wolves simply because they finish fourth and we finish fifth. I'm freaking Manchester United. I'm freaking Manchester City, whoever. If they want to break away, that option's there. Like, of course, they're incentivized to go do that because they're the bigger club. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's depressing to think about, but it's
But it's entirely
incentivized for them to do
possible.
so.
Yeah.
There's more reason for them to do so right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
We live in a world of immense possibilities because this is unprecedented. So we just
it
don't
is.
know how all institutions in all facets of life are going to react, or what's the word I'm looking for, or react to this and what they're
Like,
going to move, how they're going to move forward with this. Um, so it is uncharted territory. Um,
I was like,
but
I
I
was
think
reading.
they'll make something. There are smarter people than me in the room that are going to make decisions that are probably best worst case scenarios.
You don't mean this
Yeah.
room.
No, not this room.
No, definitely a much nicer room than
Much nicer rooms with James Bond in the corner and like Cuban cigars and like
they at
brandy,
least have a chandelier or something fancy. You
or
know what I mean? Like
high class lobster and things.
that real fancy shit, right?
But it's interesting because I was reading an
Not BOGO
article.
Publix beer and
Electronic mosquito swatters.
Hey
But
man,
I was reading an article last week that was talking about like Costco's and Walmart might be like the only things that come out of this. Like it's just going to be the big things that can survive something like this.
sure.
But like all the small businesses.
Well, any business that had before the collapse, before the crisis, sorry, any business that had a large multitude of cash reserves on hand, or they're healthy to survive this crisis, and or any business that gets bailed out by the government, because we know any government, not just the U.S. government, is willing to bail out certain industries and so on, whether that's agriculture, airlines, car industry, and so on. So if you're in any one of these industries, and or if you are a business with a lot of cash reserves, you'll be all right.
Well, let's not forget that clubs don't necessarily have huge cash
No,
reserves.
exactly.
They are profitable because they have so much coming in,
That's
and they
exactly.
spend so
Exactly.
much
Thank
as
you.
well. So
Thank you
they're
for
not very
finishing.
liquid.
No,
All
they're
they
not.
have is they have a huge amount coming in, but they're also spending a huge amount. So if you still have to spend a huge amount on your wages and it's not coming in, all of a sudden you're looking at it like, shit, this is a terrible business model. So
it's so much
that's
of
where
it is
they're at.
revenue flow.
It's revenue
Yeah.
flow.
It's
all
about
revenue.
flow, and if you
Right.
cut off the flow, then there isn't a whole lot left.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So thank you for finishing my.
I just wanted to jump in to sound smart like you.
No.
That's all I wanted to do.
I've been drinking, so like I didn't get there, but I was in there in my mind. But like that was my next point,
on
was
the
going to be
same
like,
page, bro.
unfortunately, football is not built that way. So again, like the Colognes of the world, or
I just watched
like
Sunderland
my
till I
wife,
die, so it's like
or like,
League
for
One
example,
poor
teams.
Sunderland.
I need to ask my
Yeah.
brother-in-law, but like where my wife's from, her team, where Lewandowski used to play. So he played at my wife's hometown team, and then he went to Borussia Dortmund with Jurgen Klopp. So I'm wondering how, in her team, they play in one of the stadiums that were in the Euros in 2012 that were using. Actually, my wife got she got some signed stuff from, I think, Buffon and Marchisio and stuff, because the Italian team was in her city or whatever. My point being is that team, because it's in the Polish league, is not very rich, right? So,
Right.
they're not the Liverpools of the world. They are
No.
probably less than the Colognes of the world. So I'm wondering how, for example, that league is going to survive. And even though her team is, probably the second biggest club in the country, so I'm wondering how it's going to affect all of European football, because at the end of the day, we're buying from Salzburg. So if Salzburg doesn't exist, where are we going to get our next Minamino? Where are we going to get our next Keita? Where are we
No,
going
but no, you laugh, but it's serious. Like, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of from the two leagues that I worked in sports, minor league baseball and collegiate athletics. Those are two very similar cases to what you're seeing with the smaller leagues because they're not revenue driving leagues. They're leagues that exist solely for staying afloat and producing talent and pushing it up to the next level. And that's your big calling card in whether you want to say it or not. That's what you do in college athletics. And obviously, that's exactly what you do in minor league baseball. So if you're only there as kind of a feel good, you're not really bringing in a ton of dough. Like minor league baseball operates at a deficit. They get money from the major leagues. That's how they're able to stay alive, but it's a necessary system because you need a place to be able to refine talent. College athletics, there are programs being cut, teams that are being cut. We've seen universities just say that sport is not going to exist when we come out of it, regardless of how soon we come out. The same thing is probably going to happen with some minor league teams where there's going to be major league affiliates just to say that short season team, they're not coming back. That single A team, we're not going to be able to afford them. That double A team, we're going to have to shut down that operation. And the same thing's going to happen overseas with football. It's like if you're a Mainz or something like that, it's not a sustainable thing without any kind of inflow, without any kind of transaction sales to keep you afloat, and without any kind of European football that you have access to. What are you going to do? Because the operating budget is still ridiculously freaking high, no money coming in. You're going to see teams fold. Like that's going to happen, and we have to be prepared for that because we're going to come out of this in sports. It's not just any one individual sport. It's not any one individual league. It's not any one individual country. Sports are going to look different when we come out of this, and that's terrifying.
I think the only sport that's going to be all right is basically the NFL because there's too much money in the NFL, and the people that own the NFL teams, they're going to be fine.
But again, it's a closed league, and that's the top of a pyramid because if it weren't for college football below them, they wouldn't have a support system.
You're right. You're absolutely
they're
right.
At the top. They're at the top of the pyramid, so they're good. Same with the Premier League, the Bundesliga, Ligue 1.
Darius, I like your French there, Ligue 1.
Ligue 1.
I
needed a cigarette.
Je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
Remember the show that we had a few months back about the FA, the EFL, and the Premier League?
Sure.
Like, we'll see what happens with the EFL because they're going to suffer quite a bit from this. Some of the teams are going to fight with them on financials, on, at the structure of things. The pyramid may be upset. The EFL, is it in the interest of English football for, instead of the EFL, for it to be Premier League 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Because we don't know who's going to survive and who doesn't. Like, if this goes on for another year and these clubs can't have people in the stands, a lot of them are going to fold. Like a significant amount may have to just shut it down.
And then how does that affect the national team? How does it affect, fandom for for example, the kid who's like 7 years old, will he become a fan? All these, not to mention just like people's jobs and shit, just like long-term implications.
What it means is that you're not going to have nearly as many opportunities. So Roy Keane and Steven Gerrard, you'll still find them. But Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy, maybe they don't get that opportunity.
Or Adam Lallana, right?
Or Adam Lallana. But, like, the guys who needed to kind of get a late develop, who needed to grind. All right, so one thing a lot of people are watching right now, that's maybe what it is. Maybe that's the answer. But, I mean, you think to, like, the Jordan doc right now that we're watching, that everyone's watching, The Last Dance. Those small school guys like Dennis Rodman, like Scottie Pippen, they don't get that opportunity because now the small school team is not going to be there. That level of opportunity is going to be so much less. So finding the diamond in the rough, that's not going to be a story we hear nearly as much.
And
that's
you know what?
Big impacts.
Well, here's the thing about diamond rough. Fortunately for us as Liverpool fans, we are in a great position. Why? Because of our recruitment process. And I was going to say earlier is that any of the clubs that can survive but have a system in place where basically they have a Moneyball system like the Liverpools of the world do, where they recruit, they analyze all the data, they have effing quantum physicists looking at this shit. Any of the clubs that do this, I think they'll be able to find value in the market, whether that market goes up or whether it goes down.
Yeah.
So if any of the clubs out there are still working on the old school model of, watching people in person, I think those are the clubs that are going to suffer in terms of recruitment, because if, like you said, if like small town teams are busting, then, it's just you're going to have to work that much harder to find talent.
Right, but let's not get it twisted. There's a reason why these teams at the top are looking to furlough staff, because they all realize whether we have it right now or not, we're not going to be able to do this forever. It doesn't matter if you're Manchester United. It doesn't matter if you're Liverpool. It doesn't matter who the hell you are, Barcelona, Real Madrid. No one can hold out forever in the way that this is going, and we're all TBD as far as when we get back to normal. So that's what's really tough for the teams at the top as well.
Just speaking from closer to home, like there was just a meeting this week at work where I thought my job was safe as hell, because basically I work in the TV and basically my job, my company, what they do is we track ratings, we track what you people watch, and everyone's watching TV right now. So I was like, yo, my job's dope. My job is fine, but apparently they're making some cuts where they might do this or that and blah, 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 401k, blah, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hurting everybody and not just football. So, and it's going to continue to hurt everyone and football until we get things back to normal, i.e. after a vaccine, which will be next year.
At the end of the day, we kind of hate to say it, but football is a luxury, not an essential
business.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like getting a haircut. It's a luxury.
It's a luxury that's paid for by billionaires. And look, I know they're billionaires, but they're not all equal, right? Like they all have different budgets and different constraints and different other things that they're committed to. And the decision to reverse the furlough thing, right? So by paying everyone, that costs Liverpool $250K a week, 250,000 pounds. Now that's £1 million a month. I know they have a lot of money, but if this shit goes on for a year,
it runs out eventually. If you're not bringing in, but you're still spending, you're gonna run out at some point.
I'd argue that's a small thing of their.
It's not something that
fair. £12 million. That's not much. But what is much is, like, for example, the wages. What they should really do is say, hey, Verge, can you take like a 30% pay cut?
No, they should. But then if we start playing again behind closed doors, then you can't really tell Virgil, the one guy that's doing what he's supposed to be doing, because you can't say, well, I'm going to pay the guy that would normally work the ticket booth or the concession stand, even though he's not working. I'm going to pay him normal. But Virgil, who's doing his job as
Sure, no, I get it. But
you know what I mean? Like, you can't tell him to take a pay cut. But
yeah, that's tough.
You're not wrong. Like, and do they have the money? Yeah, probably. But just remember that these are businesses.
Yeah, of course, of course.
And like, that's the thing is, like,
they'll have to allocate it from somewhere else, and they'll have to make cuts or fugazi something to make sure that they'll be all right.
I think what's really going to have to happen is like they finished Kirkby, but Anfield Road won't happen for several years.
I think they already announced that that's going to be delayed.
Yeah, they said it would be delayed.
Yeah,
but they didn't say how long. But like, it's going to be a while. You know, that's just that, because we're not going to have the money to put into it.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just where we are. It's not just a football thing. It is a global economic crisis. It's uncertainty around the coronavirus. So everyone's being affected. So it's not specific to any team, any league, or anything along those lines. But we've gotten to a point now in the conversation where it's starting to get a little bit too real. So let's go back into our fantasy land. Let's go back to fantasy land now. What are we watching on TV? What are we doing to occupy our time? I mean, we're all turning into couch potatoes these days. Like, what's good to watch? Andrew, what you watching, man?
Shit, what am I watching? Ooh, I just finished what's hot on Netflix now. This teenage drama comedy, Never Have I Ever. That's kind of cute.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, and it was
I thought
funny.
you were gonna
because-
say sex education. That was good.
Oh no, that was months ago, homie. Come on, get what the
Oh,
fuck.
all right. Well, I don't know. Jesus,
So
I'm
it's
old.
funny because I work with Indians at my job. So like this show Never Have Ever is about an Indian family. Like the father is dead, and it's about an Indian female teenager, and her struggles through high school, and it's cute. Um, and then obviously Tiger King. Who hasn't seen Tiger King by now? And then honestly, Community. I've been watching Community on Netflix as well. I was watching that back in college, but it's good to revisit that. Donald Glover is hilarious. What else have I been watching? And then just watching some of my Disney Plus stuff while I'm working. Unfortunately, I don't have a great at-home work setup. I just work on my laptop, whereas at my job I have like 2 monitors and a laptop. So I'm struggling at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm watching. And then of course, how can I forget? In English, it's called Money Heist.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
So,
I heard it.
Yeah, the wife got me into that a few years ago when it first came out. So we finished a new episode. That shit is dope. Although I'd hate the Spanish accents. Oh God, it's like I hate the way Spanish people talk. It's just terrible. I don't like it, but my wife loves it. She's like, "Oh my God, yeah," and I'm like, "No, it's terrible." But no, that show is the show's fantastic. It's good fun. I love me some heist and.
It would be racist if it wasn't self-loathing.
Oh yeah. No, you know what's funny is that in the last season, there's an Argentinian, and then, like, if there are 2 accents in the world that I hate, it's the Spanish and the Argentinian, because the Spanish is just like because they're the conquistadors, they're the conquerors of history, right? And then you have the Argentinian that is so just like I'm so pretentious and so,
Pretentious was exactly what I was thinking.
so
It was like,
sophisticated.
yeah.
It's like fake Italian.
Yeah, basically.
Oh.
I don't want to say the G word, but it's kind of G wordy. And it's like, oh, yo voy a la cocina, y yo voy a comer pollo. And it's Jesus Christ.
Okay, yeah. No, when I first learned about vosotros, I was like, y'all lost me on that.
Yeah, ¿qué
yeah.
crees, bo? No, I like Bos. There's the thing about Bos, you don't know, in Spanish it's like an informal way of saying you, and only certain countries for example, Argentina uses it heavily. Parts of Venezuela.
That's what I got out of it. It's kind of elitist.
Parts of Colombia, parts of all of Nicaragua, Guatemala, Honduras. So these places, so Mexicans don't say this. Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, they don't use it. Spanish people don't. Hold on a second. My wife is playing music. Wife, can you not play music while I'm doing this?
No, you're good. We don't hear her. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
You're fine.
Anyway, so I was like, yeah, but no, the show's dope. I love it. But besides all the accent stuff, it's fine. Yeah. But what are you guys watching?
Let's see here. I finished a few things on Hulu. I can't even remember.
Give me that password, homie. I don't got.
I'm catching up on my HBO shit now because I canceled my subscription for a while, so I'm catching up on stuff. But the real revelation to come out of quarantine is Korean cooking videos.
What?
On YouTube, man.
It's
just like they don't even show like faces. It'll just like there's one called Kimmy, Kimi, and it's just like a farmer lady. You never even see her face, and she's just like goes out, picks vegetables, and it'd be like smooth jazz in the background.
Just like, send me a link. That sounds dope.
It's like her making kimchi and like whatever else, and it's like super relaxing.
Like you fall asleep to relaxing, or
no,
like
you're just like I'm sitting there. I'm like, just play another one. Just play another one.
Okay, so Dave, you've gotten into food porn. Cool.
Yeah, food porn, totally. They're kind of like ASMR.
Okay.
Because it is
so soothing. Just like.
But speaking of cooking, I've been trying to learn.
It's like all the sound of like her shredding. The
cabbage,
you hear
with like
that. A high def mic.
Okay. I got you.
So, I mean, obviously, I've been watching The Last Dance, and I watched The People versus OJ again, or no, the ESPN one, Making of OJ, because it was
that's
good.
the what's it, 6-part one?
Yeah, it was like a 30 for 30.
It was a 30 for 30. What was the name of it?
So good.
So wait,
So
but
good.
when you watch these videos, are you cooking the shit that you be watching or not?
We did make kimchi. We have like 5 vats of it in the fridge.
I love.
Yo, hook me up
I
with
like
some
it.
kimchi, bro.
I like it.
No, it's good.
Yeah, I like
just
it.
kimchi and rice all the time as a go-to.
Yeah, I've been trying to learn how to grill recently because I'm not a man. I don't know how to. I don't know how to do that. So
gas
like,
or charcoal?
it's gas. It's gas. Yeah. I fucked up the first time, and I kind of burned some hairs off my hand. I don't want to talk about that. It was kind of.
You dropped the match in and just blew out.
No, I put the shit on high, and then I went. Boop.
Oh.
Yeah, my dumb ass.
No,
but,
the worst is when you're like pressing. The worst is when you're like pressing the button, and then you get a little bit. You're like looking in there, and then you press the button again. It's like.
Oh yeah, no, my button doesn't work, so I had to use the those lighters that are kind of long, and like a gun.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally put it on high. But anyway, so yeah, I'm learning how to grill. In fact, going to the dad's tomorrow, I'm gonna make some lamb slovak. What shit?
Souvlaki?
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe some gyro, and then I'm making my piri piri chicken.
Nice.
Yeah.
I gotta.
I'll send some pictures. It's gonna be hot fire.
Yeah.
I got to shout out Darius for the First Leaf recommendation on the previous show, because that shit was dope. And then it shows up and it's got food pairings on the little cards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is this the wine thing?
Food pairings.
Yes.
Fried calamari. I did lamb chops.
What?
Yeah.
What? You got money?
Man, they weren't even that expensive.
Lamb chop? You got a job on me?
They're a little bit cheaper.
Where at?
Man? At Publix. Or you can get them at Costco actually for a better rate. You get more of them. But yeah, man, on the grill they were fire. They were good.
Word. See, that's what I want to learn how to do is all these kinds of things. But
grilled
octopus. Oh yeah, I saw the story, but I didn't see the final product, so it didn't happen. You didn't eat it. It didn't happen.
I ate it. It was good.
I didn't see the plate on Instagram, so it doesn't.
Yeah, it did.
Did you actually have
it? My bad, fellas. My bad.
But Darius, real quick. So tell me about this wine thing, because
it's a wine club. So they're gonna have to become a sponsor now because this is twice I've mentioned that.
This is twice. First, shout us out.
But it's
we could tweet them and be like, hey.
It's called First Leaf. So the way they do it is a subscription based where it's a wine club. You go and pay every couple of months, every 4 months, however you want to do your setup. You get 6 or 12 bottles, and all you do is go in, fill out your profile, and say
rate per bottle. Go.
It is
I'd say
20
about
to 25. No, I mean for what it's worth. What it's worth is 20 to 25 a bottle, but you get it for 12 to 15.
What do you pay per bottle, basically?
So the introductory one, I paid $50 for 6 bottles. Right. Okay. That's less. It's Okay. It's less than 10.
That's the price. That's the price I like. Now you're speaking my language.
But yeah, for the actual.
That's why I sent you the invite, bro.
I know, but
for the actual things,
dude, I don't have time to be looking at shit. I work.
He goes, you know what he said to me? He goes, "What do you got me on a wine pyramid scheme?"
Yeah, I didn't have time to look. I was like, "What the hell is this?"
But it's for what you're gonna actually pay once you get into it is like between $15 and $20 a bottle. But there's nicer stuff. There's higher quality stuff. It's
shit
all
I never
the same
seen
rate.
Before.
Stuff you would not like. I got wines from Macedonia that like
oh,
what is this,
dude? No, the best wines. I mean, when I say the best, I mean the most fun to get trashed on. When I lived in Poland, was when we're wines from Bulgaria because they're like $2 or like $1.50.
Oh, they got their own version of $2 shot.
Yeah, but like it's sweet, and then the next day you're just completely hammered. But the drunk it's like a mix. It's like the typical wine drunk where you're like philosophical and you're very nice and you want to kiss everyone. But it's also like you can go on a rager and go out all night drunk. So those are, I think, for me, the Bulgarian ones are fun. Macedonia, I imagine it's similar.
All right. Yeah.
They
So
got
I mean,
they got like a wine in Scotland that's like
What?
mixed. Yeah, no. So it's like wine, but then it's like mixed with caffeine. So it's
God.
the alcohol level of wine, but it has the caffeine levels of like 6 cups of
So
coffee.
basically a Four Loco?
I was gonna say for loco, like that,
Yeah,
that's what that is.
but it's called
So basically-
Buckfast, and it's
Wow.
like apparently like a bunch of people gonna have like heart attacks and shit.
Oh, I'm gonna ask my brother-in-law lives up there. He lives in Glasgow. So I'll
Yeah,
ask him. I'll
I'd
ask
be
him
like,
to.
get me some Buckfast.
I'll ask him to mail me some. That's nuts.
Bring it to the bar when we win the title.
That
When we
sounds-
actually have a title party. Bring
Fuck.
it to the bar.
Dude, you did your house. Just have like 5 people over. Your wife will say yes, right, David? Just have 5 people over. We'll be
She hates
fine.
having people over.
We'll be fine. I'll be nice.
She hates having me here.
Dude, I'll bring arepas. I'll bring arepas, man. That's all you need in life.
All right. She hates corn.
Well, then I can't help you there.
Yeah, so as far as what I'm watching on TV, nothing major. Like The Last Dance on ESPN has been kind of a nice thing, but Altered Carbon, that's one on Netflix.
Ooh, I
I've been
finished that.
watching.
Yeah. I like
Yo,
that.
so I watched the first
Or,
season.
Yeah.
I just got into the second season with Anthony Mackie, where he comes
Anthony
in. And
Mackie,
it's
yeah.
like, all right, I can see this.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
like it. I love me some
So,
sci-fi. Yep.
I like sci-fi. I like any kind of superhero stuff, futuristic stuff. So that's kind of my speed, and Altered Carbon has been doing it for me. So that's.
Wait, did you finish it?
I'm in the middle of it. I just started season 2.
Oh,
I'm through the
okay,
first
okay.
episode of season 2.
Okay, I won't spoil
Yeah.
it. It's dope.
Better
It's
not
dope.
spoil it. Why would you
No.
do
I said I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, also real quick on HBO because David said it. I watched recently. What I really liked was that show, that Stephen King adaptation. It's called what's it called? It's like a murder mystery, supernatural-ish. It's basically about David, help me. What's it called?
I don't know. The reason I actually got HBO again was I wanted to finish that show years and years, and I wanted to watch. So David Simon teamed up with I can't remember who, but they made like a film adaptation of The Plot Against America.
Oh yes. I've been waiting for that to finish, and then I was gonna start it. But no, what I wanted to say was The Outsider. That's some creepy ass shit that you should watch. I like that show. And then of course I'm waiting for Westworld to finish so that I can binge it as well.
Yeah, Jesse Pinkman blew off his Hulu show for that, so
Oh really? Oh wow, okay.
I think that's what's happened here.
Hmm.
I know.
Yeah, so after the call, send me the Hulu password. I'll send you Disney Plus.
I got Disney Plus.
Whoa! I'll send you arepas in the mail.
You got BR Live?
There's no sports. You don't need BR Live in your life.
Dude, they're doing all the Champions League matches for free and shit. Like,
Yeah.
or for like, you know, or I think it's like you can watch any of them for free, and then you get LFC TV and all that. Not that LFC TV has anything going on right now, but you know, when it does, when football resumes.
When football resumes, we'll do something. We'll figure something out.
All right, we'll make a deal. Let's make a deal.
Wow.
All right, fellas. Well, I mean, it's been weird times being in the middle of all this quarantine stuff, but we're getting through it. Liverpool, they're going to come through it. We're all going to come through it. On the other side, it's going to be amazing. Liverpool still going to be the champions of the Premier League. So it's going to be a good time.
They say,
It's gonna be a good
Freds.
time.
I can't
We're
wait.
going to win the league.
I know. I just have to watch highlights and get happy with that. But other than that, what are we gonna do? But yeah, it was nice talking to you guys. Thanks for having me. It's my first time on the show, so I appreciate it.
Well, not really. People on our YouTube have seen you before, so.
Oh, there's that. Oh yeah, fuck. I forgot about that. Yeah. I know. But it's funny, but yeah. So I had my friends listen to me when I did that interview with the guy from Puerto Rico, and they were like, "Oh, I want to listen to it." And I don't know about you guys, but listening to yourself is just
it's weird.
You get used to it.
It
takes a while. It takes a while, but you get used to it.
You listen to it, and it's like, damn, I sound like that. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a bit weird. So I get it.
No,
when actors,
that means you're normal. If you like the sound of your own voice, you're a fucking sociopath.
Probably.
no, but like now I get it when actors say, "Oh, I don't watch the movies I make. I just make movies." Like now I get it. But anyway,
No, I totally get it.
all right, yeah, cut this bit out, Darius. But yeah,
No,
Leaving it in.
all right, leave it in then. Anyway,
All right, fellas, it's been fantastic. Thank you for jumping on tonight.
all right,
All
thank
right.
you.
Cheers.
Have a good weekend, guys. Be
All
safe.
right,
safe.
everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in. Cop Talk.